Yes, I was talking about the internment camp at Ruhleben. I think it coloured my father's life so much that it might be worth spending a few minutes. He didn't talk an awful lot about it, but I've also read books, and the conditions were very poor. But the first thing you have to realise is that it wasn't a prisoner of war camp. These were civilians. And you had, for instance, a great German cellist who was the professor at Manchester, and I presume must have taken British citizenship, because here he was back in Germany visiting family, I suppose, and he was scooped up. And he did in fact give a recital or two in the early days, and he was soon released on condition that he played concerts around Germany during the war. There were university professors, there were teachers, there were actors, there were musicians. They had about a 60-piece orchestra. They played concerts. There was a theatrical company, and in those days it was normal for a theatre to have quite a good-sized orchestra. And so they were playing concerts and playing for the theatre. They were becoming exhausted, so they had to cut down on their output. But the main thing was the education. My father used to talk about the University of Ruhleben. You could learn just about anything there. On the musical side, I've since learnt that there were some very prominent musicians. One of them, I think, a Canadian who became a conductor. But my father took French lessons and, more importantly, mathematics. Because if you're navigating at sea, you have to have a very good knowledge of mathematics. If you're taking a shot of the sun at midday or getting the angle of certain stars at night, you then have to work it all out. And this turned out to be a godsend, because of course the classes were probably, if not one-to-one, certainly very small numbers. And he always said that when it came to doing the exams after the war, the mathematics was never a problem. It was very easy. The running of the camp was soon taken over by the prisoners, and there was a big boss prisoner. There was a bit of, well, certainly there was class distinction, because all of those on the committees and so on were, well, not all of them, but I gather that a lot of them were former public school boys and so on. But it meant that they didn't have the German guards on their backs day and night. And that made it easier for the Germans and easier for the inmates. And they had shops. They had a horticultural society. They wrote to the Royal Horticultural Society in London and said, look, we haven't got any British money, we can't join, but please, can you help us? And they used to send plants out and all sorts of connections like that. So it was a very lively place. There was sport as well. This made it easier to live there. But it was the effect on his attitude to life internationally that we'll come across later on.